held up in a car wash, gentlemen.
Rob Kibbe.
Don't tell me. You're from outer space.
No, I'm from Iowa. I only work in outer space.
Mike Finnegan.
Go that way, really fast. If something gets in your way, turn.
Two guys talking cars.
I am a semi-professional race car driver and an amateur tattoo artist.
Taking on the most serious topics.
But we will give nothing back to the academic community, as well as provide no public service of any kind. This much I promise you.
And the Dukes of Hazzard. On iTunes, Stitcher, and whatever else it is you listen on. The Kibbe and Finnegan Show.
Kibbe and Finnegan Show, episode number 81. Well, friends, though, Finnegan's not here. And Corndog's not here. And Bernie's pretty well tuned out. I'm mailing this show in. I'm kind of kidding. That's kind of the truth. Here's the thing. It's the middle of August. Summer travel, roadkill filming, car fixing, personal business, trying to buy a house, if buying, starting school. It's all adding up. We just can't record this week. But fear not, for I still have for you a Dukes of Hazzard and witty banter lace show to enjoy, because this is it. This is the one where I'm going to give you the very final episode of DukesCast. And DukesCast was the precursor to what is now the Kibbe and Finnegan Show as you know it today. So just a reminder, if you're brand new, DukesCast was, this was the trial balloon. So when I got to know Mike, I pitched him on the idea of doing our own show, but I did not do so until we had already done a few segments together on my other show, the MuscleCar Place. And we called those segments DukesCast. And DukesCast was where he and I would review, and at first it was only review an episode of the Dukes of Hazzard. But it just went so well, and we were finally starting to able to turn it into the kind of the sports talk comedy show that I was hoping for, with between buddies, but instead of sports, it was cars. It became pretty obvious pretty quick that our own show would need to be the result. So this is the very last of the DukesCast episodes. This is also why a lot of you have written in and said, I've listened to all the episodes. I've never heard you review all the Dukes of Hazzard ones, though. And that's because we didn't in Kibbe and Finnegan. We did the first 4 actually in the MuscleCar Place. So here is the final of those. So this will be our review of Season 1, Episode 4, which is Repo Men. And this is a pretty good one. Repo Men's a big deal because Lee 1, the General Lee that makes the final leap in the show credits, that car was in this episode as Richard Petty's wrecked race car. We've probably gone on and on about that particular car, but that's kind of a neat one. So here you go. This is it. This was April of 2016, episode 282 of the MuscleCar Place is where it was, but this is it. So I think you'll enjoy it. It's a longer one of our DukesCast ones if you've heard the previous one. So let me know what you think. And also, I'm out of these. So if we have a scheduling snafu in the future, I got to come up with another plan. But this is pretty good. I'm excited for some cool things that we have coming up for you. I'm also excited about my General Lee. If you're not following Kibbe and Finnegan Show on Instagram, you need to follow that. I've got pictures up. I work on this car when I have time, when I can. I work with my buddy Rodney on it, and there's no joke that I don't have a lot of free time, but made a lot of progress lately. Finnegan's K member is all in place, and he gave me, well, I bought it, but he gave me a good deal on it, a disc brake power steering B-body K member for my Charger. And my car had manual drum brakes, manual steering. So his new K member is in place, and I'm also converting the car to power brakes, and I got to convert the column over to power steering to use his power steering. But all that it's almost done. The headers are in. I painted the new oil pan all up. I mean, it looks good. So follow us on Instagram there. Once that thing is done and I got all the speed parts on, I got a Holley fuel injection system, I cannot wait to get on there. Then it's time to take that sucker down to Warren Customs and convert it to TV car status. And he's going to do all the paint work, and most of the paint will be on the inside. In fact, almost all of it will be on the inside. He's not painting the exterior of the car at all. He's going to paint under the hood, he's going to paint the interior, and he's going to paint it inside the trunk. And a helmet. He's going to paint a helmet too. You can find our show in iTunes. You can get it in Stitcher. You can get it iHeartRadio. If you get it in iTunes, please leave a rating. And if you would like to support our show financially with greenbacks, money, we'll take it. because we need it. Just go to patreon.com/KF show. I think we have $1, $2, $5, $10 options there. You can do more, though. I'm not going to tell you we won't take it if you do it. And a number of you have figured out a way to do it. I really thank you for that. That's where you go, patreon.com/KF show. And that's it. Done begging. Here is DukesCast number 4. This is the very last one. I hope you enjoy it, and I will talk to you next week.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm.
Up next, or back next, I should say, is the ever-popular co-host of this DukesCast segment, which may become something far sooner. This is Mike Finnegan. Mike, are you there?
Yeah, buddy. And I'm going to warn you right now, I think I'm getting sick, so I probably sound like I got a frog in my throat.
Dude, I got a cough drop going?
I do. I've got the Hall's Mentholyptus and a bottle of water, so ready to work.
Yeah. If you click that around, it should sound like a rock in your mouth or something like.
It does. It does.
Okay, cool. Today we're going to do the 4th show of the Dukes of Hazzard. At some point we'll get through here. This is the 4th of the 5 Georgia episodes that were filmed in Covington and Conyers, Georgia.
Yay, Georgia.
Yep. Saw a few things in here. Filmed in the fall of 1978, maybe around Christmas time, because in the town square there were like actual Christmas decorations hung in the town square.
Oh, you're good. I didn't even notice that.
I didn't catch it until this very time, and then it premiered on February 16th, 1979. And once we start getting into the show, I got a ton of stuff from you, including some stuff I got fed from our buddy Corndog, Justin Corndog Cornett.
I've not met him. I have not met the corn dog, but I've never met a corn dog at a convenience store that I didn't like. So
you'll like this one the best. So before we get rolling, though, I'm going to try to come up with a question of the show for you that I think fans of yours everywhere want to know. So here's the question of today's show. Actually, I got 2. Number 1, you can only choose one of these. You can't choose both. You cannot. You can build your car or you can drive your car. You can't do both. What's it going to be?
Wait. So after I build it, what is it, just a lawn ornament kind of thing?
Somebody else gets to drive it.
All right, well, that's cool. Then I'll build it.
Okay.
The building for me is the fun part, and there's a lot of times where I lose interest when the build is over. I think I told you on the last episode I had a 67 C10 that I worked really hard on. Like, me and my buddies built a tube chassis, IRS, airbags, LS2, all this stuff. Body dropped it. I mean, it was cool. It was ready for paint and interior, and I got rid of it. Because at that point, I just didn't care anymore. I drove that truck one time, and it was all that I thought it would be. I enjoyed the drive, and then I was looking down the barrel of like a $20,000 bill probably for, a paint job and an interior that was commensurate with the work we'd already done, and I was like, I don't want that. It'll be too nice when it's done, and I won't want to drive it because I won't want to scratch it or spill coal on the seat, so gone.
Yeah, I had the 76 Nova. I just got rid of it. I had it since I was a kid. What I loved so much about it was just a pile. It was a pile when I got it. I learned how to do bootlegger turns in it. I learned how to hood slide with it. I mean, it was just junk. But I loved that it was junk because I didn't care where I took it or when.
Oh, yeah, that freedom is epic. Yeah. Like my wife's El Camino, I'm running out of excuses for not painting it because it's basically done. And all she wants is a paint job on it. She hardly drives it because she wants it painted. And man, I don't want to paint it because right now you can slide it into cones at an autocross and it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And I even have the color all picked out. I saw this BMW and it had a flat metallic blue that was really bright. And it might have been an M Series car. I don't know. Saw it outside my apartment one day and I thought, when the day comes that I finally break down and get this thing painted, that's the color. And I'm excited about the color. I'm even excited about the idea of the car looking in that color. And I still don't want to paint it because I like driving it.
It does happen. Yeah, now that my Chevelle's all super nice, I'm so careful with it. It's not normal.
It's stressful, man. It's totally stressful.
It is stressful, but it's so awesome. I can't help myself. Okay, now the world knows. All right, let's get rolling into this episode. So we'll start off with some trivia in here, and that's going to come out as we go.
Right.
But Ace Parker, who's the car dealer, his real name is Jerry Rushing.
There's a shady looking guy.
He was a real moonshine driver. He met Gy Waldron. Gy Waldron was the creator of the Dukes of Hazzard and kind of educated him on what moonshine running was really like, which spawned out the 1975 B-movie film called Moonrunners, which was basically the Dukes of Hazzard in an earlier form.
Do you think he traded the knowledge he gained through his life of crime for a role, a small role, actually a pretty big role in a single episode of the Dukes of Hazzard?
No. According to trivia, he thought he was getting more out of this. He thought this,
boy, was he wrong.
He thought this was the first of like many.
Oh, no. And
you know
what's funny is Moonshine played such a fairly prominent role throughout the series. That was what dogged the Duke boys forever. That was why they were on probation. So you would think there'd be an opportunity for that guy to keep coming back, but no, he gets burned by Guy.
It got gooned up here. I think there was a lawsuit. Like, he claims to have been the real life Bo Duke. There's some lawsuit where he
Bo Duke after 300 chili dogs.
Yeah, Bo has had a rough time, and
Bo really liked the shine and the fried chicken.
His car, his moonshine car, was called Traveler. Traveler was the name of the real Robert E. Lee's horse. General Lee. It goes on, but a couple other little stints that I picked up here. Rod Amato is in this. He is the bald guy that's in here later. He's a bad guy. He's a director. He may have directed this episode. Not sure. And then from Corn Dog here, we mentioned in the last show that the moonshine car, the Blue Fury that Bo and Luke were driving, that blue one that looked like it was gray under the hood, it was gray under the hood, and it had been used in Daisy's song, that episode, as an Atlanta police car. Here's another one he knew. You remember Gilmore Girls?
Sadly, I do know that show.
They filmed that on the Warner Brothers Town Square, which is the town of Hazard. And
I'm assuming they filmed some other shows that would have been a better example than Gilmore Girls.
That's all I can tell you. This guy said, I went there and I toured in 2004, and Gilmore High School was the Hazard Courthouse.
Wait. This is Corn Dog's contribution, Gilmore Girls?
Corn Dog's wife likes the Gilmore Girls.
Corn Dog, step up your game, dude. There had to have been a better, more manlier show to give us for an example than the Gilmore Girls. No offense, just saying.
And my wife liked this show. She was watching today, so I started watching for a second, and I realized, hey, there's Roscoe's impound lord.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is the second time you've brought up Gilmore Girls on this podcast.
And that's going to be the last one. We're done. So. Okay. So the show starts out here. Bo and Luke are running down the ditch. They're out in, like, the grass, driving generally with the windows up, like preparing for a race. You see that the General's a real RT. It's got a tick-tock tack. You see the tack running up and down. It's an automatic. I think I got the whole intro bit here. I'll just play this.
General Lee was highly respected in Hazard County, both the Confederate General and the Duke Boys race car. Now, the first was a great leader, and so was the second on the dirt track circuit.
If we can't top 37 seconds, there ain't no reason to enter that race Saturday.
Well, I'll tell you, we could have topped 30 seconds if we hadn't had to go through that obstacle course you set up.
Look, you ever seen a race where there wasn't oil or rain or sand on the track by lap 8?
Yeah, well, sure. But not all three at once.
Hey, if something can go wrong, you can be double damn sure it will. That's Murphy's Law.
This guy Murphy, is he a race driver?
He must be. Everybody talks about him.
It's awesome.
I love the humor.
It's getting, like, episode by episode, it's getting more legit. It's still kind of in the shady territory, but
I believe there was at least one redneck joke in this, a self-inflicted redneck joke in this episode. You know, the thing about this episode that really bothers me, though, is there's some shady editing going on. I mean, we're talking, like, sped-up film during car chases. Mm-hmm. At one point, my favorite moment in the whole show, generally towing a car trailer with another Charger on the back, which is, you know, just further cements the idea that the General Lee can do anything, go anywhere. But there's a shot in it where Cooter's pretending to drive the other Charger that's on the trailer, and he's on the wrong side of the car.
The image is reversed.
Yeah, the image is reversed, and then a few seconds later, cut back to Cooter in the car, and he's on the other side of the car. That
very scene, I remember watching that episode, like, after school one day, right like in the mid-'80s, the Dukes was on right after school, and I remember seeing that confused, like, why did he get to the other side of the car?
During the big chase scene at the end with the tow truck and the spikes out the side, the first car it runs into, the body panels are like self-ejecting off the car, like it didn't actually like tear into the sheet metal.
Mm-hmm.
But then the second car, the green 4-door, it's tearing into the sheet metal. No self-ejecting body panels, and you can see the roll bar in the car.
Yep, I wrote that down too.
I'm sitting there going, well, why did you cheese out with the first car, but the second car, you actually destroyed it?
Everything's.
I don't know what's going on in this episode, but I'm not into it.
So
calling shenanigans on the whole thing.
We're in luck. They get to the plot pretty quick. So the boys here are driving along, and at some point, they stop at a used car lot because there's a car on the lot that really interests them.
Stop! What is wrong? That's the car that Richard Petty wrecked last weekend doing those tire commercials.
Well, I guess it ends there.
Yeah, this part was cool because, and I'm sure you've got some interesting corn dog history on this other Charger. But for me, when they pop the hood and you see the blown motor in there, which clearly was a shot from an engine compartment of another car.
Yeah, that was
I was
green.
Like, yeah, let's see that engine in the General Lee. And then, not to do a total spoiler here, but the engine never ends up in the General Lee, nor do they ever race the General Lee in this episode, which, much like the last episode where the General Lee wasn't even in there, I'm totally let down.
Yeah, I stopped there, and I think it's a big block Chevy.
I wasn't even really paying attention. It might have been. I
looked at it real quick, and I think the Chevy was on the back. Yep. And then
covers will give it away.
I looked at the car. It was green. Like, it was not, I don't know what it was. But, yes, clearly, this Charger that they're looking at, Richard Petty's car here, this was Lee 1.
That's what I was thinking. Is this the one that somebody a few years ago found?
Yeah, there's a long, sordid story to this one. So, in the Georgia episodes, there were 3 Chargers that went there that were built in California. But once they got there, they had to make more. So they had a local crew that would build more, and then they'd just haul the old cars away to like a normal Georgia junkyard and just leave them. And this particular one, Lee 1, it didn't get crushed. It just got left in some, Georgia clay, and it just kept sinking. And then 10, 15 years ago, some people went on a escapade and they found it.
Here's some circle of life stuff. So, this was filmed in Georgia, and then it left and went to California, and they filmed the bulk of the show there. But recently, the film and television industry has come back to Georgia. They're all leaving LA. They're all leaving California because it's too expensive to make anything there. The reason I bring this up is I'm checking my Facebook feed a few weeks ago, and all of a sudden there's this advertisement that the Fast and Furious 27 or whatever number they're up to is filming in Georgia, and they're looking for car people to build cars, to use their cars in the film.
Oh, this is your chance to get your 55 in there.
Dude, yeah. Oh, I totally fanboyed out. I sent an email. I was like, I got a couple cars. Yeah, man. And I never heard anything, but I'm not bitter, though. No, not at all.
Did you tell him you're Mike Finnegan? You should tell him that.
Dude, I did. I dropped my own name. It did not work. Trust me. This is D-movie, D-list, C-list status right over here.
Give it another 3 months of DukesCast podcast, and we'll be up to a B here.
Yeah, we'll get sued by Warner Brothers, but maybe I'll get to drive Vin Diesel around on Fast and the Furious.
They do like Chargers there. Rolling right along here. So Ace Parker is the guy that owns this used car lot. Bo and Luke have to deal with this guy named Ace. As you might expect, there's a plot twist. Ace Parker had a Rolls Royce, and he had that car specifically reserved for Boss Hogg's wife, Lulu, and he sold the car to somebody else. So somehow Ace has to get this Rolls Royce back for Boss's wife, and he's in a pickle here, and then we get to the plot.
That wreck out there, how much you give us if we hauled off for you?
Well, now, that's $700, boys. We both know what it is and what it's worth.
We'll take it.
Since you Duke boys quit making whiskey, you ain't earned $700 in a year.
We give you $200 and you can hold it.
I'm holding it now. You see, it's on special today, but tomorrow, price is $1,000.
Well, how come?
Because you need it. I got it. It's the only one around.
Let's get out of here.
Unless you do a little repossession work for me.
Repo Men? Us?
That's the show. That's where we go from here. I love 70s TV. They just tell you everything right up front. It's very, very honest.
Because you need it, and I got it.
It's the only one around. When he said that, and I realized like he was a normal moonshine guy, like he said that to other people for real in life, for sure. Because you need this moonshine. I got it. It's the only moonshine around.
He could have been pumping gas. That phrase still applies.
Yep. That's for sure. So, as you might guess, they agree to do this repo work. Some other weird stuff happens, though. So Boss Hogg shows up, and this is still when he's a bad guy, but he's kind of like semi-evil. Did you happen to see, like, he showed up with, like, titles to wrecked cars?
Oh, yeah. Shady.
I had to pull the clip from this, but it was, like, almost a minute long. But what was the gist of it?
They're VIN swapping over at Ace's place.
Is that what he was after?
Yeah, he's like, these are all the titles to every wrecked and totaled car and hazard. Stick these on your cars that don't have any titles because your cars are stolen, Ace.
Oh, Ace's cars were stolen. Okay, I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
All right, so Boss and Ace are in on the shenanigans. So Boss clearly tells Roscoe that the Duke boys are going to go repo this car, and he tries to set it up so that they'll get busted for some reason somehow. Roscoe agrees to do it. I think I got that in here somewhere.
Oh, well, I'll throw them in jail. I'll throw them in jail for the whole weekend. That way they can't race on Saturday. They'll just break their redneck hearts.
I'm talking prison. 2 years for breaking probation.
Well, boss, I wouldn't exactly call that breaking probation, you know. Just, it's not as if they're running shine or out there poaching them little deers.
Roscoe, you better get creative, or else you will be
the night rent-a-cop at the drive-in deli on Frontage Road.
Bingo.
I don't remember why I pulled that clip.
Coffee hadn't kicked in yet.
I guess not. Yeah, strike that one from the record. That one was kind of a dud. At some point, he was oogling women. I thought I had that, but... So anyway, they go out to repo this car. For some reason, they knock on the front door to tell the people at the house that they're there to repo the car and that they're really sorry about it. And then the guy opens the door, and they have like a Doberman dog that tries to kill Bo and Luke and chases them. It's kind of vicious for a while.
Yeah, big teeth on that dog.
Yeah. They run away, they escape, and then while one of the bad guys is chasing them, Bo kicks him in the back and yells yeehaw. And for some reason, when I start hearing these screams, I kind of take note of them because I think they might crack you up. So here is your sound clip of the show. There you go.
Like donkey stomped him into the lake.
Yeah, he kicked him in the back.
To the back.
Not a cool thing to do to somebody.
Oh, no. He kicked him like a rented mule. It was great.
At some point, things are quite strange here, but Bo and Luke are upset. They feel like they've been set up. So they go back to Ace's with a chainsaw to cut a car in half. And it's bizarre actions. And Ace kind of gives up and lets them buy the car super cheap.
Yeah, the chainsaw and their ultimate problem solver, the bow and arrow.
Yeah, what is bow? He just keeps like bow and arrowing the tires. I guess you might say shooting the tires.
Because as always, that won't violate your probation.
But this car, so Lee 1, a little more trivia on this car. So Lee 1 was the generally that was jumped at the end of the first episode. You know, it's the one, like you said, it's the one that was resurrected. It was restored. Bubba Watson owns it now. But after they wrecked it, they pulled the 69 Charger nose off of it, the grill. They took the taillight panel out of it. They took the doors off. They took any piece of good generally off of it. And then they put junk parts back on it from other wrecked cars. And the reason they wanted the nose panel and the tail panel were because they had a lot of 68 Chargers that they were converting to 69s, and those were the two most important pieces. So when you look at the wrecked car, you see, well, A, it's blue. Man, it was shot blue, and then they used cinder blocks to scrape down the side to look like it had been in a wreck. And they put on, some sheet metal up front to cover the headlights, and the same thing in the back for the taillights. But when you see Cooter inside, you see, like, sure enough, it's got, like, kind of a tannish interior, and it's got, a generally roll cage in it. Like, yep, that's Lee 1. It really served double duty.
Imagine being those guys that walked into that yard and discovered that car 40 years later and figuring out, oh my God, this is Lee 1. Imagine the feeling those guys had. Because didn't it, like, it was sitting there, and I think it had gold rims on it, like the same rims that were in this episode, if I remember correctly.
The way I remember is the rims were gone. A few pieces of the car were gone. Like, the intake manifold was gone. When they got it, like, the first guy that got it, I think his name was Travis Bell, their goal was just to put it back looking like Richard Petty's wrecked race car. So they put gold rims back on it.
Okay.
And then toured it around and kind of showed it like that. And then it changed hands a few times until the guy who had it before, Bubba Watson, wanted it restored.
Oh, yeah, and he restored it to, like, an orange car. That kind of bums me out. And isn't he now, like, scraping the flag off the roof?
I don't know if he went through with it or not.
Giving into societal pressure?
But he had said he would. He said he'd pull the Confederate flag off and put an American flag on.
No spine on that guy. Of course, he plays golf, so there you go.
Okay.
He and I are never hanging out. I just ruined that deal right there.
Once he hears this, he's probably your biggest fan, and you probably just broke his heart. Jeez, Mike doesn't like me at all.
I guarantee he doesn't know who I am, but if he does, we're not hanging out anymore. I pissed him off, and the whiny guy from that car show you brought up the first time I was on your podcast.
Oh.
That car show where they work on Mopars, and the guy kind of like whines at his crew to get him to work.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Richard Rawlings. Yeah, I know who you're talking about now. Well, scratch that one off the list,
show.
too. Yeah. Well, back on track here. So, Bo and Luke, they buy this car, and just like you said, they had a car trailer hooked to the back of General Lee with Lee 1 sitting on the back of it with Cooter inside of it. And then, as you might guess, Roscoe has set them up to fail. He's going to catch them, and he's going to put them under the jail because they've done something wrong. This is kind of like a 1-minute clip, but it sets it all up.
All right. Let me have your license and your registration.
For the vehicles.
Now, where's the registration for this wreck?
We just bought it.
Where's your bill of sale?
No, we're not going to register it because we're going to strip it down and use it for parts.
Well, then you got to have a business license.
What are you up to, Roscoe?
The law definitely states that you got to have a registration for any vehicle on a public road. Well, now, that's a vehicle, and this is a public road. Now, if you haven't got a registration, I can only believe that you stole a car.
They ain't stole nothing, and you know it.
Cooter! Now, you want me to arrest you and throw you in jail, too? Now, you hush. Now, you boys have broken probation. That's going to get you 2 years in prison, along with what they give you for stealing a car. Read them the rights, Enos.
Roscoe's still a bad guy. He totally set him up.
Well, remember, Boss had, at this point in the episode, threatened his job. So he's just kind of doing, what he has to do to survive. It's a man without a pension right there.
Yeah, and I think I even had a clip of him explaining why he had to go from being honest his whole life to bad the next day. Because he lost his pension.
Yeah, which is not a good excuse for false imprisoning other people. It's not. Shouldn't do it.
No, and it upsets Enos. So you get to know Enos a little more in this episode. Enos is a good guy. He's torn between obeying and obeying a crook. And
yeah, Enos is a good virgin, which you'll find out if you watch this show. He uses, I believe it's barbells and cold showers to resist the temptation of Daisy Duke and other women like her.
Protect his virtue. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice. Very, very
good
nice.
Game. Way to hustle, Enos.
Okay, so we roll along here. Bo and Luke get thrown in jail. Uncle Jesse picks him up. He knows how to solve it.
Well, boys, I don't see no sense at all in taking this thing to court.
Why not?
Well, A, every judge in this county owes his job to Boss Hogg over there.
What's B?
B is we don't dare take this thing to a jury trial.
Why not?
Because juries is made up of parents. And parents is the mamas and daddies of all those girls you've been chasing since you was 13. They'd hang you before lunch.
Was there a seat?
Yeah, there's a seat. But we got to find out how much it's going to cost to fix it. And that'll depend on what Ace over there wants to change his story.
So they end up having to repo the car again. I get kind of lost in the mix here. Now, do they succeed at this point?
They do. They repo the car. There's an awesome chase scene which is when they bust out Cooter's tow truck with the implements of destruction that they welded to the side of it. It's basically the end of the episode.
So they get the rolls. Do they take it back to Ace's and then they decide that they are going to basically murder these bad guys' cars?
Well, no. What happens is they're on their way back to Ace's.
They get busted on the way back. And
yeah, Roscoe and
takes
Enos
the car.
stop them, take the car from them. So now they don't have their bargaining chip with Ace, which is supposedly going to keep them out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
So then they walk home. Uncle Jesse gets this bright idea that overnight they will steal all of Ace's cars, take them back to the junkyard, crush them, and then leave them back in Ace's garage. So that when Boss gets there the next day to show Lulu her new rolls, and coincidentally the bad guys show up to get their rolls, there is no rolls left. It's smashed, and there's just a grill and a hood ornament, and the evidence is gone.
Okay.
Can't send the Duke boys to jail.
I am up to speed now. So at some point earlier in here, Enos knows what's going to happen. He knows that Bo and Luke are going to be set up. He goes to tell Uncle Jesse about it, but he's not there, and that's the virtue part. I think I had this in here. I like the way that Daisy manipulated him. I don't know. I'm not sure.
With her using her undergarments?
You're so tall and strong, Enos. You still working out with barbells?
Yeah, they're the greatest thing since catfish and hush puppies. All the while they're building my muscles. They're saving my virtue for the right person, too.
There you go. That was the clip you had. I just want to find that for you.
Well, no, you need to let it keep going, because then he talks about taking cold showers, too.
With this particular sound clip tool, I can't start it where I stopped it. So it will start at the beginning every time I play it.
Oh, play it again. It's amazing.
Okay.
Everyone wants to hear this.
You're so tall and strong, Enos. You still working out with barbells?
Yeah, they're the greatest thing since catfish and hush puppies. All the while they're building my muscles. They're saving my virtue for the right person, too. Along with a lot of cold showers, of course.
I guess that's why a puny little girl like me feels so safe when you're around. Especially when Bo and Luke ain't.
You don't have to worry about that none. I'll still be here when they're in prison.
Prison?
Well, that's what I come to tell Jesse about. They ain't repoing that rolls for Ace. It's for Boss to give to Lulu.
I can't see where that makes a difference as long as Ace drops the charges against him.
That's just the trouble. Sheriff Roscoe ain't gonna let Ace drop the charges.
Ooh, he always knows it. I got another one in here. I'm just going to start collecting these when they go to commercial. I like these little sayings they make.
Y'all better not go to the refrigerator now.
Waylon Jennings.
Waylon Jennings, he was the balladeer in that movie Moonrunners that I told you about earlier.
Oh, I didn't know that. Now I need to see that movie.
I found like little chunks of it on YouTube. It's weird. I mean, it's like 1970s. Like LSD was kind of over, but they were still using it pretty heavily. It's weird. Really.
You know what the really good Shine movie is Last American Hero with Jeff Bridges. He's playing the part of Junior Johnson.
So he drive a Mustang in that?
Yeah, drives a souped up Mustang and a couple other cars, and he's running Shine for his family to pay the bills. It gets busted. The other thing he likes to do is race stock cars. And so he's building and racing his own stock cars and, the fledgling NASCAR circuit. It's a kick-ass movie.
Oh, man, it's been a while. Okay, so the Dukes, like you said, they get this rolls back. They decide to destroy these bad guys' property. I forget why. I think you pointed that one out. But there's something in here that I thought was kind of funny. It's why it's okay to destroy people's property.
The Dukes believe in retaliating on property, not people, which sometimes calls for a little country ingenuity, like welding mowing machine teeth on the sides of a souped-up wrecker and using it for an assault car.
And see, it's totally moral.
You know what the other painful part of this episode is when they go to visit Cooter at the wrecking yard, and this is back in the day when they were called wrecking yards for a reason. Mm-hmm. He was taking a Tri-5 Chevy that really was not that bad off and sticking it in the car smasher and turning it into a life-size cube of metal. God, that hurt me to watch. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's amazing. The things that were so different then. So I was once again talking to Corn Dog. The first Dukes of Hazzard reunion was like 10, 12 years ago. And he had mentioned the condition of the Charger that they were going to jump. They just took kind of a rough Charger and bonded it together so they could jump it.
I saw that video. They trashed that car.
He said, man, I thought that was a rough car. But back then, it's a car today that's $10,000. A wreck today that's $10,000 back then was still a rough car. Every day that goes by, these junk cars get more and more important to us. Just like you're 55.
There's a 68 Charger on Craigslist right now that is just a shell. There's no motor, no interior, no glass, no front suspension, no hood, no front fenders, no trunk lid. I mean, it is just a shell that needs floors and a trunk floor, and it's $6,000.
I believe it.
Oh, and it doesn't even have a dash in it. So I don't think there's a VIN on the car. Yeah, there's no title, no VIN, nothing. $6,000.
Who are the guys that were repopping bodies? They still do, but they were the first ones. Repopped 69 Camaro bodies and like 68 Mustang fastback bodies.
Dynacorn.
There you go. I interviewed Dynacorn years ago, and he said, any requests for the next car we should make? And I told him 68, 69 Chargers.
I know. I'll never understand why nobody made a fiberglass body for that car, because I would be dirt fishing a Charger every day of my life with no regard to the car itself if I could just slap on another fiberglass body.
Okay, the show goes on, and like you say, I don't know how to describe it. So they take this like 3/4 ton, like a C20 pickup, or maybe it's a 1-ton single axle, and they put like these lawnmower teeth on the side, and they drive it to the bad guys' cars, cut them to pieces, and the first one's like a 68 Nova 4-door. It's been obviously pre-cut, and like no bolts are holding anything in. I mean, they just kind of get up next to it and tap it, and it just disintegrates, falls apart. But the LTD, the green LTD,
can opener of that car.
Jeez, can you imagine being that stuntman in there? I'd have been terrified.
That was spooky. They were really close to him. And there's one point where the spikes have ripped the fender off the car, and then the truck swerves back at the car and stuffs the fender through the window of the car right at the driver.
It just happens to flip up at the wrong spot. And if somebody were sitting there, they'd have been sliced in half.
But you know what's even more scary than that? If you back up a few minutes of the episode, how they get the Rolls Royce the second time is they distract the Doberman by bringing, I believe, a
dog in heat.
They bring a dog that's in heat, and I think it's a Cocker Spaniel, but they bring it from the Duke farm, and suddenly they're puppy farmers. Like, out of nowhere, there's all these dogs in cages, and here, take this one, she's in heat. And I'm like going, wait a minute.
That's right.
And then the Dukes become dog breeders.
They drop her over the fence, and Cooter says, "Have fun." Or something like that. I'd forgotten all about that. Well, okay, so in the end, they crushed the rolls, right? As a dog. So they crushed the rolls. They put the Rolls Royce grill on the front of the cube of crushed rolls, and then the bad guys show up, wanting to know where their rolls is. All of a sudden, Roscoe gets really competent because they walk up and they look down in the crushed cube of Rolls Royce, and they see why the bad guys are there. The bad guys had left some counterfeiting plates in it. You can see them in there. All of a sudden, Roscoe is like kind of reputable.
I'm just a country sheriff, and I got troubles of my own. But if I didn't know better, I'd swear that is a counterfeit plate. But now, who in his right mind would make a counterfeit plate yay long and yay narrow? And if you're not out of my county within 30 minutes, I'm going to be calling the FBI.
Yeah, I kind of like the way that one ended. I think I got Waylon Jennings here doing the whole show wrap-up.
Well, boys, there's still justice in Hazard County.
Well, there sure is. Yeah, if you bite, claw, kick, and scratch your way to it.
No, it's just like Ed James said. Americans has got to fight for justice.
Ed James? Well, who's Ed James?
Oh, he had a couple of nephews, too. Frank and Jesse.
That's the legends of how the Duke boys put Boss and Ace out of the hot car business and got themselves off the hook by destroying the rolls, which was Roscoe's phony evidence. They even put a counterfeit ring out of business, too.
I like this early music. I think that doesn't last into the second season.
Yeah, it's just good feel-good music right there.
It is.
Makes you want to go outside and cut down a tree, build a car, jump a car, chase women. Would you be totally offended if I admitted to you that throughout this entire podcast I've been surfing Craigslist at cars?
No, I've
You couldn't even tell. I was multitasking. I was with you the whole time, but I was also trying to find myself an old Ford truck.
No, I search this stuff. So usually I use eBay Motors, so I try not to do it on my computer because you can hear like the mouse clicking away while I do that. But if I use my phone, I can sort through it pretty good. I've also played 3 games of Candy Crush.
If you ever send me an invite to any game, let alone that one, we're not going to be friends anymore.
This is the perfect bathroom game because it usually lasts like exactly how long you need to be in the bathroom. But
I find Craigslist Pro to be the perfect bathroom game because it's a constant game of how many ads can I surf before my wife goes, get off the friggin' toilet. It's my turn.
I like 3 minutes in the bathroom. That's how long you go to the bathroom. Max.
I've sat there so long my legs went numb. And I actually fell into the bathtub when I got up because I couldn't walk.
Yeah. I hope you went. too while you were there.
One time I forgot. I just sat down and started surfing and thought I was done. Got up and went, oh yeah, I still got to poop.
On that note, that is our full review of episode 4 of the Dukes of Hazzard. Stay tuned for episode 5. And so we don't have a specific announcement yet. We've had a good time doing this, and it sounds from the way that we were seeing the feedback, you guys are enjoying the show. We're going to spin this out into its own show.
Why not?
Why not?
I got nothing better to do.
Who does? Sooner than later, this will be its own show, hopefully by the next episode here. So know that that's coming. Oh, yeah. Did you buy a car?
No, I'm looking for one. And if listeners happen to have a 67 to 75-ish Ford F100 short bed, 2-wheel drive, I'm looking for one. I haven't decided if I want one with rust that I need to fix in the floors and the bed, or if I just want one that doesn't have a lot of rust and has stock paint and a nice patina to it. I don't care about the drivetrain. It could be blown up, could be gone. I just need something that's not all dented to hell and destroyed. Because I'd like to build one. I built a bunch of C10s, like a lot of them, and I really want a Ford now.
What do you want? 67 to 70 what?
67 to 72.
72.
A lot of people call them bump sides. And Ford short bed. I'm thinking, I'm not totally sold on this, but I'm thinking maybe P71 Crown Vic swap. Like drop the Ford body on the Crown Vic chassis. Or not. I'm not totally sold on doing that. Kind of want to, but kind of don't.
What's P71? What year range is that?
2003 down to 97, I think. 97 or 99. P71 is the cop package. It's got all the cool suspension, the better brakes, that sort of thing.
Is that the second to last body refresh on that car?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I know.
And I actually saw one on Power Tour last year. I don't remember if it was a long bed or not, but the guy had cut the firewall of the truck about 2 inches down from the cowl and then dropped the entire body down onto the Crown Vic and had the dash and everything of the Crown Vic in it, and it fit really good. It was a sweet truck. It was really low to the ground the way he did it. And I don't know that I totally want to cut up the Ford to do that, but I need an old truck. That's the next old truck. But I'm in Georgia now, and a lot of these things here are rusty. They don't have a lot of really good patina, so if anybody out there has got one they want to sell cheap to me, let me know. Find me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram.
You are Finnegan999 on Instagram, Mike Finnegan999 on Twitter and Facebook. Do you still have some FSM shirts for sale?
That just ended, but by the time this comes out, I think I'm going to have another shirt. But if you go to fsmgarage.com, which stands for Finnegan Speed Marine Garage.com.
I am Robert at themusclecarplace.com. I signed up for Snapchat last week. We're going to start doing this.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think
I was on the Snapchat bandwagon like 2 years ago, and it got a little weird at my place of work, so I dumped it. Guess I need to do it again.
I kind of got sold on it by somebody. I had to have somebody younger than me teach me how to use it. All right, Mike, thanks as always. Everybody, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.